And we are back to the Discord reviews. It's Monday again. You guys know how this works. You submit your tattoos in the Discord. We pick out a couple. We go over them. We talk about how to get better. We don't get our feelings hurt. If we do, we keep quiet about it. Let's get into it. Let's get to the first submission. It is from our friend Ghost C4T. John, big fan. You help so much. Get to use the 3RL shading. Thought of me a lot. I'm reading what is presented. There's some typos. I'm gonna read you what I think they're saying. You've helped a lot with 3RL shading, taught me a lot of tattoo techniques. I've been apprenticing for 2 years and counting now. Congratulations. I feel like my tattoo here and improve so much more. Please let me know what you think. Appreciate that. Hopefully you're not tattooing words. All right, I'm just messing around. I can't spell for shit. Let's take a look. Okay, nice. This is a lot better than the grammar. This is a really cool spider we got here. So right off the rip, I like a lot of the contrast you're using. I like that you're going dark, especially in the head. Like you went dark and you left that little shine point. Those techniques are really cool, and I feel like it's pretty advanced for 2 years. But how can we improve? Overall, it looks a little flat to me. And this might be because lack of values. You have some good dark here and dark in the head. And then this feels really light, almost like where I lose it in the skin. I think I would brush some grays in there. I mean, really, what are we talking about? Where do we want the viewer to look? I would expect the spider head, you know, and the butt head thing is like a secondary option. So I would probably use more black in like some of these outer areas to like tone down some of this stuff. And as we do that, it kind of forces you to look a little bit more in the areas with the really high contrast, which you did pretty well in the head and the one like fang thing. I think, you know, and I'm assuming this is where we'd want to look in the photo. So we kind of want to tone down everything else around it to draw the viewer there more. Because right now my eyes kind of go all over. They go to the head, they go to the back face, like, oh, that's an upside down face, and some of the legs. So I would play around with eliminating a lot of that negative space and being very conscious about where you want the viewer to look, even on these standalone pieces. I think this stuff's really important. And don't be afraid to go solid black on some stuff, you know, just to play it around. Like this back leg, I might just have kind of gone pretty solid black, or like dark the way you did the head, and push some of these into the background. This, and I don't say this a lot, this might have even been a fun piece to try out some white on, because you got good structure, so it's like, who cares if you lose the white? But I want the viewer, the focus point, to be a little bit more obvious, and we achieve that with that high contrast. So what I mean is, in that viewing point, going from black to negative skin, right? And if we shorten that grayscale, make something, you know, fall away, look in the background, look a little bit more flat. So you could do that by like brushing over some grays in the background, like in the legs, in the back face, to kind of make it more secondary. And then use the full grayscale where we want them to look, maybe at the spider face or this forefront fang. But just some things to keep in mind. Overall, I think it's a great tattoo. You have an amazing base. You have a lot of these basics that are difficult to learn, and now you can just take it to the next level. So thank you so much for your submission. All right, let's get to the next one. This one is from Jess. Awesome. Hi, John. My name is Jessica from Ruston, Louisiana, and I've been tattooing for 2 years. I love the black work pepper shading tattoo style, and I'm just trying to figure it out. Thank you so much for all the videos. Helps so much. Let's take a look. Thank you, Jess. Okay, yeah, this is super cool. So definitely seeing the pepper shading, which is awesome. And this is kind of the way that I like to do it. Meaning I like to put bold lines in there. It kind of holds the structure up of the piece, and then get crazy. With the pepper shading, you seem to have it down. You know, it looks like either your machine's low or you're moving your hand real fast to give the spacing in the dots. I even like how you do some of these lighter areas, like they're not negative, they're still in there. You know, same thing. High contrast might do you some benefit, and also with some of these areas, like probably here, I would just go solid black. You know, maybe even use a mag. It doesn't look like we're quite getting solid black, and the piece would look really nice if it had a little bit more of that. With the pepper shading, I know, it's like chaos, it's hard to control, but we want it to be as smooth as possible. So I like what you did here on the face, but I'd be like a little bit more intentional. Like if you're doing this like kind of this shadow, I would have it darker where the shadow is being produced. So, which is like here on the nose, and you could kind of pepper it out. Little more dramatic. Same thing with this bottom one, like you can flick up from the shadow. It gives it a little bit more of that feel. It's not as smooth as I would like it to be, like in the hair. And listen, this was like one of the last things I learned, how to really get it smooth, because you have to be super patient. But I think it's like moving slow and like getting some of these spots in, and maybe just doing it until you get black on the end there. And I know it takes forever, but that's what makes it look so cool, is a lot of people are not willing to take the time to make it smooth and bring it to black. But I think this guy would really benefit from some like black tips on the hair. So it would just be going over what you already did, you know, and then really taking a step back, coming back in. Did I miss any spots, you know, from the fade? So cool, you have the basics of the texture down. Let's take it to the next level, you know, let's put fades within our fades, starting points. Let's really take a look at the shadows. What type are we creating? You know, we talk shadow cores, you know, where's the darkest part of the shadow, and smoothing out some of this texture. You know, sometimes I will bring out a bug pin 3, like an 08-3, and go on top of it. It kind of builds it a little bit more gradually on top of the 3, or I'll just come back, you know, put it in some shading solution and just work it in there, you know. But really getting those smooth, even now with drawing on top, having the hair a little bit darker, to me it adds more contrast to the piece and makes it more interesting. So hopefully that's helpful. Keep with it. Your pepper is looking great. We just have to build those values a little bit more to get to that high contrast. Use a mag if you have to get in those solid blacks. Very excited to see how this continues for you. Thank you for your submission. Norway Stain, my latest piece. This piece was about 2.5 hours using a tight 3RL and 11 bug pin soft edge mag shader. The design was made by the client himself. Ooh, interesting. I did the shading, the details with the tight 3RL and the solid black with the mag. Machine run at 8.5, really like the shading with 3RL. I've been tattooing 2.5 years. I'm still a junior at it, and any pointers would be much appreciated. Okay guys, I'm a little nervous to see this. It's designed by the client. It always makes me curious. So we'll see what we got here. All right, not as bad as I thought. We have a skull with like a crow that is a back spine into one claw. Black was done with the mag, everything else, the light shading was done with the 3RL. All right, so I don't know if I'm critiquing you or if I'm really critiquing the client's design. That being said, it's kind of weird, but the first thing I noticed is I probably would have gone a little bigger on the design, like maybe just down to here. But the flow is nice actually on the forearm, so that's good. It fits there. There is a lot of black, you know. It looks like it would hold up a while. I do feel though it's like a little too high contrast for me. Like I would have liked to see more gray, I think. And I don't know like what the client was letting you get away with or not. But I probably would have put like a little more gray in the skull. I would have found like a point, like a shine point on the head. I really like to do that with skulls. You know, like maybe it's right here. And then everything around it would have just been a little, you know, brushed in with that. being kind of the point. I feel like the background's like a little empty. You know, maybe you could have like continued some like really light gray texture just to tighten up some of the emptiness, the open space, you know? Like I said, I don't know though if the client, sometimes those clients, they just want to get like stuck on their design. They don't want to change it all. Line work looks a little choppy. Probably would have spent a little bit more time on the line work, you know, especially around here. I don't know if it was like more of a realism style or not. If it was realism, I probably would have tried to create a pattern with the shadows. Like maybe just on the back end of all these, I would have made the shadow, you know, kind of like this, and then flick it in. But like repeating patterns like that look nice. You know, our brains like that. Makes things look like organized. You know, maybe I would have brushed some shadow over these light details. And then I'm not sure, there's like this texture over here. Maybe we're trying to go like light, maybe solid black, but either way it just looks a little choppy kind of. So I would have taken more time to make that solid. There's like a little glare on the photo. It looks like the black packing is decent. But with these tattoos, they're like almost silhouettes, like they're close. Like the black is everything. We have to take the time to line it, make it very clean, pack it perfectly. You know, you can spray some liquid, like some soap on top of the black so it magnifies any spots that are missed. I don't know if you guys do that. That's kind of like an old school thing, but after you pack black, spray it down with soap to see if there's any light spots or holidays missed. So if you're gonna do a piece like this where it's like 80% of it is just solid black, clean. That's all we're going for. So not a bad job, good attempt. Let's say we don't do any of the like light gray things that I was talking about. You know, just coming back in and making sure those black areas are crisp. But definitely an interesting design. You know, it's pretty weird. It's fun to see like different weird things. So hopefully that's helpful, and thank you so much for your submission. That is it for today's episode. These tattoos were really good. The tattoos just keep getting better and better, and it's like young people, you know, 2 years in the industry were most of the artists, and that's incredible. That's so cool for me to see. If you guys saw what I was putting out at 2 years, you would not listen to anything I was saying. But it's nice to see the industry grow. It's really cool to see you guys want feedback to get better. So that's very inspiring to me. So thank you so much, you know, for having the courage to put yourself out there for everyone to see and like get some feedback. If you haven't gotten chosen, keep trying. You will. We'll get in. Guys, we have something very special coming up next month. I'm not going to tell you when exactly. I've been dropping some hints in the Discord. If you think you know what it is, let me know. I'm curious about to see your guess, but it's something that we've been working very hard for the last year with a bunch of companies. Everyone's come together really to volunteer their time to bring something for you guys. So that's all I can tell you now about it, but keep your eyes peeled. Stay tuned. See you next week.